Pokemon Infinite Fusion is a beloved ROM hack, and you can really tell that the developers put a lot of effort into it, as there's a different plotline throughout Kanto, and there's a seemingly endless amount of amazing custom Pokemon fusions. The creators even went as far as to include a jam-packed post-game that features a different journey through the Johto region and Sevi Islands, while hunting down various legendaries, along with the mighty Triple Fusion Mons. So, as I've done in 18 other videos here on the channel, we'll be checking out all that there is to do after becoming the champion in Pokemon Infinite Fusion, and seeing how its post-game content stacks up to the rest. By the way, I'll be using the same game file that I did during my live Nuzlocke of this game, as I do live stream right here on YouTube 4 days a week, so feel free to join if you ever want to be a part of the action. Anyways, make sure to hit that sub button, as it really does help out the channel, and without further ado, it's time to actually play through the post-game of Pokemon Infinite Fusion. Your reign as champion begins back in Pallet Town, where your mom informs you that Professor Oak has something to tell you. It turns out he wants you to go to New Bark Town over in Johto in order to meet Professor Elm, who not only has a Pokemon to give you, but also wants you to help him locate Mewtwo, who, as we all know, escaped from the Cinnabar Mansion back in the day. Now, the only way to reach Kanto's neighboring region is to take the Magnet Train from Saffron City to Goldenrod. There's a few things for you to do here, some of which can be done during the main game, but I never really bothered with them, so here we are now. These include activities like battling a Rotom that you can only find at night, and meeting up with Sabrina, who will offer to rematch you in Vermilion City, but we'll get into all that stuff later. There's also the Pokemon Fusion quiz on the second floor of the radio tower, which upon reaching 5,000 points, you'll receive the box link, allowing you to access your PC boxes from anywhere. Last but not least, you can head inside the art museum to check out some of the artists that helped develop this game, and possibly challenge them to a battle. The main building here, though, is of course the gym, because not only is your goal to meet up with Professor Elm, but you have the opportunity to collect all 8 Johto badges. Whitney is still the leader, and she uses some not so pleasant looking fusions, to put it nicely. After taking her out though, you'll be awarded the Baton Pass TM, and usually you'd want to head north out of town at this point. However, although you can find Erica in the National Park and also receive a free egg, there's no way to remove the Sudowoodo on Route 36 since the lady at the flower shop isn't there. Instead, you'll want to head into the Goldenrod Tunnel to locate the loser himself, Ucine. He offers to trade you what looks like a Mewtwo, but upon actually receiving it, it's just a Meowth and Ditto fusion. Fortunately, you'll get your traded Mon back eventually, but I still have a whole YouTube short expressing my anger for Ucine. Anyways, he runs off to Azalea Town, causing you to trek through Route 34, where you can steal an egg if you feel like it, and the Ilex Forest, where you can help this guy and his Scyther cut down some trees. Upon arriving in Azalea, you'll immediately notice that the entire place is flooded to the point where you can't even enter Route 33. This is all thanks to you-know-who, so defeat Ucine in an easy battle, and then you can get HM06 Dive from Kurt. Use that to explore the flooded Slowpoke well, where you'll need to move these 4 Slowpokes next to the shelters in order for them to evolve and unclog the drain. This puzzle can be a little tricky, as I somehow managed to softlock myself. I couldn't move the remaining 2 Slowpokes, and I couldn't reset the puzzle by leaving thanks to blocking off the exit with a few boulders. Eventually though, you'll figure it out, and Kurt will reward you with some candy balls, which are really nice as they give some free levels to a newly caught Pokemon. On top of that, he's the gym leader of Azalea Town, believe it or not, so knock out his squad of bug types for TM99 Quiver Dance, and you can then enter his house for a few extra items like a Scorch Ball, Spark Ball, Toxic Ball, and Frost Ball. With business taken care of here, you can now enter the Union Cave, where the main path just has to be blocked off by some Gravelers, forcing you to take the long way around. After working your way north through Route 32, you'll reach the Ruins of Alph, where you can battle this super nerd who will tell you that there's a chance you can find fossils just by smashing rocks in the overworld. Then, as you try to enter Violet City, Ucine will confront you and head off to Chamber A back by the ruins. He claims to have heard one of the legendary beasts, and upon taking a look downstairs, you'll encounter the Raikou-Suicune fusion, but unfortunately it'll run off at first sight. Back outside, Ucine will give you the backstory of Raikou, which involves him flooding the Slowpoke well in order to see Suicune, but that also accidentally brought along Raikou, allowing Ucine to throw some DNA splicers at the two. Anyways, there's a small lab in the ruins as well, where you can pick up a weather tracker, which will tell you what areas are experiencing a thunderstorm, meaning Raikou is in that location. The last thing to do here is the tablet puzzle, as you can go around to the 5 different chambers and touch the stone tablets in the order A, B, D, E, C, B, A, which will open up a secret room where you can pick up one of the typing plates every day. However, I couldn't get this stupid puzzle to work for the life of me, so let's just move on. Inside Violet City, the teacher in the trainer school will offer to make a Pokemon forget its original trainer for 50,000 Pokédollars. Despite the high price, this can be worth it if you're looking to unfuse a traded Mon. The Sprout Tower, on the other hand, features a tricky little puzzle in which you need to avoid making eye contact with the Sage dudes on each floor, or they'll send you back down. It's worth it to reach the top though, as you can steal some Bellsprout statues and make bank, and also grab the Golbat boots, which will be needed later on. As I'm sure you can guess, Faulkner's the gym leader in town, so zap his flying types for TM100 to Fog. The stretch of routes before Cherry Grove don't feature much, aside from Mr. Pokemon's house, who will tell you a bit about Arceus, but you can't do much more until completing a separate mission. That mission being showing you seeing the various legendary beasts and birds in Cherry Grove City. He'll award you with the Azure Flute, but we'll get back to this later. For now, arrive in New Barktown, where you can literally play blackjack with some guy, but more importantly, speak with Professor Elm. On top of giving you HM05 Waterfall and granting you access to the Cerulean Cave where Mewtwo can be found, he'll offer to give you one of the 3 Johto starters, and you just know I had to go with my boy Totodile. Continuing through Johto, you can find a random Slacking just chilling on Route 46 before heading into the Dark Cave, where you gotta blow up some rocks using dynamite from a few workers that must be defeated in order to reach Blackthorn City. Claire's waiting for a challenge here, and upon defeating her, you'll get TM101 Dragon Dance. The Rising Badge also makes it easier to traverse through the Dragon's Den, even though these alternating whirlpools are still tricky to get through. It's worth it for the free Gibble though. The Ice Path is replaced with the Ice Mountains in this game, which is just tragic because that Ice Path theme is a bop. Nonetheless, this is where the Golbat boots will come in handy, as you need to hop over a gap to reach the other side. Awaiting your arrival in Mahogany Town is Price, whose gym includes a pretty unique hockey-related puzzle. Speaking of unique, one of Price's mons is this Jinx Wailord Abomination. I feel like this would be a character from the Amazing World of Gumball or something. Anyways, after receiving the Frost Breath TM, you can check out Mount Mortar, which plays home to a random static Pokemon every day, so that's kinda neat. Ecruteak City has a bunch to do, beginning with giving this hiker directions to a nearby town. This will boost your karma, which I haven't talked about yet, mainly because I'm just now finding out that it's a thing in this game. You'll also come across Alder in the Dance Theater, who will hand you the Light and Dark Stone after defeating the Kimono Girls, and these are 2 items that will be useful later on. Finally, you can locate the Squirt Bottle in the house north of the gym. As for Morty, you have to track him down in the Burnt Tower, which features a similar puzzle to the Sprout Tower, only this time it's a bit harder, thanks to the Ghastlies and Haunters having random patterns. But that is nothing compared to Morty's squad, which includes a Wonder Guard Focus Sash to Weavile Shedinja fusion. Yes, it is a Dark and Ghost type, meaning it can only be hit with fairy moves. Fun fact, this is where I lost my Nuzlocke, because I didn't have a fairy move. Yeah, it's safe to say Morty is now one of my least favorite gym leaders, even though he gives you TM97 Nasty Plot for winning. At this point, things get a little tricky, as you actually have to trek to the Sevi Islands for the remaining 2 badges. Now, some of the areas, like Knot Island and Mount Ember, can be explored during the main storyline, so I won't go into depth with them. Just know that you need to use Dive at this spot on the Kindle Road to clear the path. Now that you're on the other side, you can stop by the Ember Spa before making your way onto Brine Road, which is yet another typical water route. It does contain a shipwreck, which houses a few items, but other than that, head north to reach Boone Island. Here you can interact with the TV in the Poke Center to activate Latios and Latias, talk to the move expert who can teach your mons rare moves, and challenge Chuck at the base of the waterfall. Not only will you see some cool fusions in this battle, but along with the Storm Badge, Chuck will hand over the Naval Ticket, something that will come in handy in just a bit. Further east of the shipwreck, you'll find Kin Island, home to Beeb, who offers the other 2 Sinnoh starters that you didn't select earlier in the game. After crossing Bond Bridge in the north, you'll come across Jasmine in the Berry Forest. She's apparently out camping with her nephew and some friends, but somehow lost track of them. It turns out that the nephew also can't find his friends, so as always, you're tasked to track them down. After finding all 5, there ends up being a total of 7 kids back by the camper. This is thanks to a Zoroark using Illusion, which you must defeat in battle. As thanks, Jasmine will accept your challenge request on the Bond Bridge, so brute force your way through her steel types for the final badge, and she'll also hand over a Mareanie, which can be used to scare away the groups of Corsola that you might have seen on the way over here. With 16 badges in your pocket, you can meet up with Cynthia and the rival back in Oak's lab. The professor claims that space-time distortions have appeared on top of Mount Silver, and advises the three of you to check it out. Not far into Mount Silver, the rival will take you on in a fight, since, you know, he's still jealous that you're the champion. After shattering his ego once again, he'll give you HM10 Rock Climb, which you'll need to reach the summit. Speaking of which, right before getting there, Cynthia confronts you and states that the Pokemon has too much aura to even get close to it. No, literally, that's what happens. This isn't some 2024 brain rot stuff. This could very well be the most difficult battle yet, but it's definitely not impossible by any means. By making the slow walk to the peak, the Triple Fusion beast Paldeatina will unleash its wrath upon you. This is another 3v1 showdown, similar to the legendary birds fight during the main plot, so don't be surprised if it takes multiple attempts. Once it's dealt with though, some sort of rift appears in front of the character. Walking through it transports you 3 years into the future, when who else but Gold approaches you for a battle. This part of the postgame is insanely cool in my opinion, as it's clear that you're in the time frame of the Johto games, but this time around, you are red on top of Mount Silver. Anyways, he's got some pretty dope Johto fusions, but I really don't think this battle was tougher than the Sinnoh Legendary one just was. Upon proving that you're the best around, you'll travel back to your time period and end up in your house, where your mom grants you the Shiny Charm. And that brings us to the Hunting Legendary section. There are a ton of legends to locate, including some that can probably be caught before becoming the champion, but I'll still throw them in this video because why not? Starting with the Kanto birds, they're all in the normal spots, you know, Zapdos in the power plant, Articuno in the Seafoam Islands, and Moltres on Mount Ember. Then you can finally fulfill Professor Elm's request by capturing Mewtwo at the bottom of the Cerulean Cave. And remember, that can only be done once you possess at least 2 badges from Johto. As for Mew, you need to have a Karma stat of at least 22 in order for it to appear. The easiest way I found to raise your Karma is to repeatedly give the correct directions to the hiker who travels back and forth between Goldenrod and Violet City. And yes, this is the same hiker from Ecruteak. Once your Karma's high enough, head to the observatory on Mount Moon and use the telescope in between 8 PM and 5 AM to reveal the 8 different constellations. This will reveal Mew when you point the scope at the moon, who will begin to float around. Get the cursor right on Mew to engage in battle, and eventually catch it. The legendary dogs are relatively easy to find. I mean, Entei's just hanging around in Victory Road, while the Raikou Suicune fusion can be found using the weather tracker that you received in the Ruins of Alph. By now, it's about time to utilize that naval ticket, so head to the dock back on Boone Island, where the sailor will take you to Naval Rock. You gotta dodge some Spearows and whatnot on the way up, but it's worth it to catch Hogia, the Ho-Oh-Lugia fusion. The last Johto legend to discover is Celebi, in which you need to complete 40 quests, most of which can be activated by talking to the NPCs in the various hotels, in order to obtain the GS Ball. With it in hand, you can place it on the shrine in the Ilex Forest for Celebi to appear and be caught. The Hoenn box arts require a bit of work, beginning with Groudon in Mount Ember. By hiking north from Brine Road, you'll come across a different entrance to the mountain, where this man will make you some Ember Cream in exchange for a Fire Gem. This will allow you to withstand the intense heat as you climb down the ladders, in the order right, left, right, and find the ruby. By taking this gem to a deeper part of the cave, you can throw it in some lava, causing Groudon to appear. A similar situation takes place with Kyogre, as you'll need to head south from that shipwreck to dive into the deep sea. Near the surface, descend into the rightmost crevices both times to reach the Sapphire. Then by ascending back up a floor and taking the far left crevice, then the far right one, you'll encounter Kyogre at the very bottom. Once you've met both of them, talk to this man on Kin Island, and he'll guide you to Sky Pillar. This place works the same as it does in the Hoenn games, in the fact that you need the bike to reach Rayquaza. As per usual, the Regis involve a somewhat complicated process. Begin by clearing away the Corsola south of Kin Island using that Mareanie that you got from Jasmine, and surf towards the Water Labyrinth. Eventually, you'll reach the dive spot in the middle, which will take you to the Submerged Temple. The main entrance is blocked off though, so you gotta enter from the side, where a Sharpedo will chase you down while you move some boulders and duck down inside some holes in the wall. After outswimming it, you'll be in a large room with 3 different walls, in which you need a Steel Rock, Rock Ice, and Ice Steel Pokemon respectively to make them disappear. Behind each of them is a unique puzzle. The first one involves pushing the boulders onto the gold and bronze switches to battle the Regirock-Registeel fusion. The second one is probably the hardest, as you have to line up the boulders right down the middle to encounter the Regirock-Regice fusion. And lastly, the Registeel-Regice fusion waits behind a puzzle where you just have to slide over the switches in the order stone, bronze, silver, gold. After taking on all three, a staircase will open up, taking you to Regigigas. With that, it's about time to wrap up the whole Ucine quest, so take the Kanto birds and Johto beasts to his house in Cherry Grove, so his Dittos can transform into them. As thanks, you're offered the Azure Flute, which can be shown to Mr. Pokemon on Route 30, who will tell you to play it at some kind of peak. This turns out to be a little spot on the Ice Mountains, which will reveal a staircase taking you to Arceus itself. After capturing it, talk to Mr. Pokemon again, who will guide you to the ruins of Alph. It's here where Arceus teleports you to the Sinjoh ruins, where Cynthia and this random hiker are awaiting your arrival. Eventually, Arceus will make 3 eggs spawn, which can end up hatching into Palkia, Dialga, and Giratina. The next legendary plotline includes Darkrai and Cresselia. However, you'll need to have a Karma stat of at least -1, which can easily be achieved by purchasing a couple of Pokemon from the black market in Celadon City. Now you can enter the Lavender Town Orphanage, where a strange feather commands you to find 5 other feathers around the world. In order, they can be found in the northernmost house of Vermilion, upstairs in the daycare on Route 5, the hotel in Fuchsia City, north of Crimson City, and back inside of the orphanage. By falling asleep in the bed, you'll wake up on Full Moon Island, where Darkrai and Cresselia give you a choice of following the dark or the light. From the looks of things, the easier path is to follow Cresselia, so head to Moonlit Forest on the back of the island, and make it so that all the water is present in the circle before exiting. You'll now be on Full Moon Island, where Cresselia gives you the Lunar Feather. Upon making the little water circle empty, you'll be on New Moon Island, where you can place the Lunar Feather on the bed. This will transport you to some kind of dream where you must tell this Drowsy how many Mareep and Flaffy you see. Upon doing so, Cresselia will join your team, while Darkrai can be challenged and caught. It's also worth mentioning that you can follow Darkrai in the first place and still get both the legendaries, just in the opposite order. Now for Genesect. Travel southeast from the Water Labyrinth to dock on Chrono Island and work your way around to the Team Rocket warehouse. After knocking out some grunts, 2 Team Plasma grunts can be found in the back, who will then leave. Follow them to the harbor on Chrono Island and talk to the sailor, who will take you to the P2 laboratory. Make quick work of the grunts in here, and Genesect can be battled in the back. Speaking of Gen 5 legendaries, Reshiram and Zekrom are actually fused together and waiting for you on the Bell Tower. Just assure that you've gotten the Dark and Light Stones from Alder. You'll also need those 2 items when you meet Colress in the Lake of Rage. By touching the icy rock, the lake will freeze over, allowing you to maneuver your way through the ice puzzle and face Kyurem. Remember when you interacted with that TV on Boone Island? Well, it's time for that to come into play, as you can use the weather tracker to see where strong winds are occurring throughout the region. Go to wherever the winds are, and you'll encounter Latios and Latias. At this point, we're basically at the home stretch for the legendary hunt. Moving on to Deoxys, north of the Bond Bridge, 2 secret agents will be checking out some kind of spaceship part that crashed. One of them will ask you to find the other 2 parts, which are on Route 32 and underwater in Route 19. By retrieving them, the agent uses triangulation to figure out that the origin of this spaceship is on Birth Island. Yeah, right, you ain't that smart, you're just programmed to say that. Anyways, the sailor on Cinnabar Island will now take you there to catch Deoxys. The Jirachi side quest requires you to have encountered at least 277 different Pokemon. Once you've done that, sleep in any of the hotel's beds, and you'll wake up in a weird version of Pallet Town. Jirachi tells you to choose a starter, which you can't because the Master Balls disappear, so it instead takes you on in a fight. And we're now down to the final 2 legendaries. Necrozima's quest can be activated by placing the 4 strange prisms, which are found in Mount Moon, Cerulean Cave, Mount Mortar, and Rock Tunnel, in the pedestals on the top floor of the Pokemon Tower. From there, a darkness will begin to cover the region, and Sabrina tells you to meet her on Route 7. She's found another strange prism, and then says to meet her on the top of the department store. After fending off some wild Golbat and Crobat fusions, head over to Fuchsia City, where Koga is intrigued by a strange plant. More of these appear throughout Fuchsia, so follow them to the Safari Zone and take out the wild Scolipeds to pick up the strange berry. Have Professor Oak look at it, and then take it to the same room in Mount Moon where you got the strange prism. Now there's a long path that will take you to Necrozma, giving you the chance to catch it. Finally, we've got Meloetta, who may be the most confusing one yet. Start by going into the Saffron City bar during a Saturday afternoon and wait until it's at least 8 p.m. Head downstairs where this man is getting angry at his band since they're not performing very well. You're then tasked with recruiting some new members, starting with a drummer north of Crimson City. This turns out to be a member of the famous band Miss Melody and the Mystic Musicians, so now you've got to track down the rest of the band. The first guitarist can be found on Fridays in the Goldenrod Tunnel, while the second one is south of Treasure Beach on Wednesday evenings. Return to the bar, where you'll learn that the harpist of the band can be found behind a little parkour puzzle by the Mount Moon Observatory on Monday mornings. Lastly, on Tuesday nights, you can locate the last musician in the Ilex Forest. With all of them back together, go to the bar on a Saturday night and you'll be able to listen to their concert. Suddenly, Meloetta will appear and do a bit of singing before joining your team. Well, it felt like it would never end, but all the legendaries have been caught. So now you can hunt down the gym leaders in various locations to be able to rematch them in the Vermilion City Arena. We already saw Sabrina and Erica earlier, but Brock is by Mount Moon during the day, Misty's at the Cerulean Cape in the morning, Lieutenant Surge is outside the power plant during the day, Koga's at the entrance to Victory Road in the evening, Blaine's in the Seafoam Islands during the daytime, and Giovanni's in Crimson City in the evenings. As for the Johto leaders, Whitney's in Violet City in the evening, Kurt's in the Viridian Forest in the morning, Faulkner's on the department store roof in the morning, Claire's in the Dragon's Den at night, Morty's in Lavender Town at night, Price is on the Ice Mountains during the day, Chuck is in front of the Fighting Dojo in between 2 and 5 p.m., and Jasmine's by Chrono Island in the morning. And with all of that, we have done just about everything there is to do in the postgame of Pokemon Infinite Fusion. There are some other small areas like Resort Gorgeous, but they don't really serve any significance. You can also complete the National Dex to get the Magic Boots. Nonetheless, this postgame was action-packed with more storylines and quests, which is the stuff that I love. This might have even been the biggest postgame we've covered so far, and it's definitely one of the best. As always, I had a ton of fun making this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it just as much. If you want to support the channel further, consider becoming a member, as you get cool perks like videos early and a shout out on the outro screen. For now though, have a great rest of your day, and until next time, deuces.